The new elected president just said one word: the price of commodity increase.
Subsidy is gone.
Removal of fuel subsidy.
People, they are carrying keg up and down to look for the fuel because of the change.
Anytime this word is being said in Nigeria, it leads to a lot of chaos and even protest. But first of all, what is fuel subsidy? Who introduced fuel subsidy? When is fuel subsidy going to stop? And why do Nigeria pay for fuel subsidy? Nigeria is one of the largest producers of oil in Africa, but 80% of fuel that is used in Nigeria is being imported because of the 4 refineries in Nigeria is not working. First of all, this is where the word fuel subsidy comes in. Now, what is the fuel subsidy? What does the fuel subsidy mean? It's a form of government intervention in reducing the cost of fuel price to make it affordable for the masses. You may say, wow, this is really cool, but now the government needs to pay a certain amount of money to importers and marketers so that the fuel can be sold at a regulated price. Now, some people may say, why do the president want to stop such an act if the government need to pay some certain amount of money to importers and marketers so that the fuel can be sold at a regulated price? Now, the case of Nigeria is really different. Nigeria owns 4 refineries. The 4 refineries in Nigeria can be found in Port Harcourt. We have 2 refineries, one in Kaduna and one in Warri, which is in Delta State. Now, these 4 refineries are not working.
All the 4 refineries in 3 locations are on shutdown. Completely very deliberate decision to shut it down.
The case of Nigeria is very different. Nigeria pays for fuel to be refined outside Nigeria based on the 4 refineries in Nigeria are not working. Later, they now import the fuel back to Nigeria. You can see this is really crazy for an oil producing nation paying a crazy amount of money for fuel to be refined outside their country, later on being imported back to the country. So the president now said that he's not going to pay such amount of money to importers and marketers of petroleum in the country anymore. The past government said that they spent 11 trillion on fuel subsidy, but don't worry, we'll get to that topic very soon where the fuel subsidy scam come in. So I wanted to tell you, so we'll take it step by step how this fuel subsidy thing has now crippled the economy. Fuel subsidy was introduced in 1977 by the then military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo. It was formalized in Olusegun Obasanjo's tenure during his military regime. The government introduced the fuel subsidy scheme so that the price of petroleum can be controlled. There will be a regulated price for fuel. That was the reason they introduced the fuel subsidy scheme. Since then, the fuel subsidy has been in the Nigerian sector and has eaten deep into the Nigerian economy. Now, the question is that why do Nigerians have to pay this certain amount of this fuel subsidy money? First of all, if Nigeria don't pay this amount to the refiners refining this fuel, maybe in Europe or any other part of the country, there will be scarcity of fuel in the country. The 4 refineries in Nigeria is not working. Now, when there is no fuel in the country, then the filling station that have fuel left will now increase the price of fuel, and it will be now for only the few people that can afford the fuel. So in order to meet up consumers' demand, since the 4 refineries are not working in Nigeria, the government pays this fuel subsidy so there will be surplus of fuel in the country to meet up consumers' demand. That's why the government keep on paying this money to meet up consumers' demand. Fuel subsidy scam. Let's talk about the scam in the fuel subsidy. How much do Nigeria really spend on fuel subsidy? How many liters of fuel does Nigerians consume per day? It shows that in 2012, the investigation that was carried out in Nigeria showed that Nigerians consume about 35 million liters of fuel per day. Meanwhile, the government pays for 59 million liters of fuel, then leaving a gap of 24 million liters of fuel that is not being shipped to Nigeria or that is being smuggled or over invoiced. So you can see how this fuel subsidy has really affected the country. Now, if they, maybe for example, they import 59 million liters of fuel, then they said Nigeria is only consuming 30 million liters of fuel, then where is the remaining 24 million liters of fuel? Sometimes either importers of this petrol never really import this fuel to the country. Sometimes the importers create over invoice and send to the government. Some of these fuels are being shipped out of the country by importers and marketers. It has been said between 2012 and 2016, Nigeria has spent $26 billion on fuel subsidy alone. It is being said that sometimes some importers go as far as creating fake documents and increasing the price of fuel and collect subsidy money for fuel that would not be delivered to Nigeria. You can see with the massive spending on this, you know that this fuel subsidy thing is really eating the economy drastically. The Buhari government said that they spent 11 trillion naira on fuel subsidy alone. So if you see, like, for example, Nigeria that is being said that is owing a lot of country, Nigeria is said that is in debt. So it's like the Nigerian government, like what they do right now is that they borrow money and fund subsidy. You can see what's really happening in the country. So you can see that maybe the new elected president is not maybe doing a run to say that fuel subsidy is gone. So, but another unique thing about the Buhari government is that it said that Nigerians consume 70 million liters of fuel per day. Is it that Nigerians we are driving to heaven, or we are driving to another country or another planet? Under the Buhari regime, Nigerian oil production has dropped from 2 million barrels of oil per day. But the unique part is that the consumption rate in Nigeria is still increasing, with 70 million liters of fuel that is being consumed by Nigerians per day. And if you know the problem is that with the rate of people now even parking their cars is funny in Nigeria. People have stopped even using their cars the way they used to drove it around. Increase rate is still increasing with the rate of people not using their cars. But the subsidy is still increasing when there's nobody the way they used to drive it, maybe in 2014 or 2015. In 2021, Nigeria is said to spend 2.3 trillion naira. You can see this amount is great, but if you convert that in dollar, there is about $5.6 billion on fuel subsidy alone. Is it that Nigerians is drinking this fuel? Is it like is it that this fuel is energy drink in Nigeria that the government spends so much amount of money on fuel alone? And what I'm seeing is like Nigerians borrow money to maintain fuel subsidy. The government budget, the government spending on fuel subsidy alone is greater than the budget they have for education, health, and infrastructure. So you can see a government that spend more on fuel subsidy than any other sector. Is it that this fuel subsidy is what will lead Nigeria to the next world power? In recent times, some experts have said that the fuel subsidy only benefit the rich than the poor.
We said here, 3% of your consumption of total fuel in this country, the bottom of the pyramid only accounts for it. This fuel subsidy we've been talking about it's for the elite. So when people say, oh, do the framework, do this and do that and do that, it's a tax cut for, frankly, 4 of us sitting at this table,
To an extent, a lot of experts have said that because of the fuel subsidy, that's why Nigeria has refused to fix their 4 refineries.
All the 4 refineries in 3 locations are on shutdown. Completely very deliberate decision to shut it down.
Because if you see with the amount of money Nigeria has spent on refining fuel outside Nigeria and importing it back to Nigeria with 11 trillion naira, which is equivalent to 5.6 billion with one administration alone, then what's stopping them from building even a new refinery? They can build a new refinery with that money. Because Dangote is said to build his own refinery with about 13 billion, some said 19 billion dollars. But with one administration spending over 5.6 billion, the other administration comes spending another billions of naira. Then why didn't they keep this money and build their own refinery? But they cannot do that because, first of all, a lot of this fuel subsidy money goes to the elite in the country. Because before the fuel subsidy money comes, a lot of people have their own share. The marketers, the importers, and even people that refine the fuel outside. Some expert has believed that Nigeria has a share company outside the country where this fuel is being refined, because with such amount of money there's no reason Nigeria cannot build their own refinery. It has been said that in recent interview with the NNPC chairman, they asked him why is it that the 4 refineries in Nigeria is not working.
One is delivery of crude oil into these refineries is completely challenged because the pipeline network is completely compromised by vandals, by all kinds of people who will not allow us to operate this pipeline. That means you are not able to deliver crude oil to this refinery effectively to the maximum of their capacity.
Worrying the refineries cannot be fixed with money, or it is a spiritual problem that is worrying the Nigerian refinery. But if with what the minister said, removal of fuel subsidy will not lead to inflation if the government doesn't take good measures. Because first of all, everything revolves around the fuel industry. Prices of commodity will definitely increase if the government doesn't take critical measures when removing the fuel subsidy. In this video, we're going to talk some of the steps the government should take before removing this fuel subsidy by some experts, and some of them are my own personal opinion. The government should invest in public transportation, because first of all, everything around every economy or the world revolves around transportation. Food is being transferred from one state to another. So if maybe the government remove this fuel subsidy and there is scarcity of fuel, the government should provide public transport where these farmers or traders can ship their goods from one state to another. The government should invest on railroads, so it should be cheap for the masses to use. Government should try and bring some of the fuel subsidy money that they are spending on fuel alone and investing in other sectors of the economy such as education, health, infrastructure. He's not the first president to remove fuel subsidy. The former president Goodluck Ebele Jonathan tried to remove the fuel subsidy, which led to a lot of protests and chaos. Even Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria right now, even said that, agitated for the removal, said that he's wrong for him to remove it. Even Buhari in 2015 interview said that the fuel subsidy is a scam. But it's funny how our president, who said the fuel subsidy is a scam, later now practice the same scam that he was talking about. So a lot of people have tried to remove the fuel subsidy in recent time. Mr. Buhari even tried to remove, calling it a scam, that his government will not practice the fuel subsidy, but later on continue the fuel subsidy. Former president Buhari was a president and he was also the minister of petroleum. So maybe that's why his own spending on fuel subsidy is greater than every other president in Nigeria. So if the current president right now, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is saying that he's going to remove the fuel subsidy, do you think that his own policy is going to stand, or is it just a normal saying like every other president that has come to Nigeria and left the chair? Drop your thought on the comment section. I'll be there to reply all your comments and your thoughts. Thank you. See you in the next video.